It usually does not feel like anything is changing. You walk into the same store, buy the same things, and go through the same routine. Nothing looks dramatically different from last month or even last year, but somehow your money does not stretch as far as it used to. You might notice it in small ways at first. A meal that used to cost a certain amount now feels slightly more expensive. A coffee that was once cheap now feels like a small luxury. Your rent goes up a little. Your bills increase just enough to notice, and each time you tell yourself it is not a big deal. It is just a small increase, something you can adjust to. And that is exactly why inflation is so powerful. Because it does not hit you all at once. It moves slowly, quietly, and consistently in the background. Your brain is not designed to react strongly to small, gradual changes. It reacts to sudden loss, not slow erosion. So instead of feeling like you are losing money, it feels like things are just getting a little more expensive. And over time, you start to accept it as normal. You adjust your expectations without even realizing it. What used to feel expensive now feels average. What used to feel average now feels cheap. And that shift happens without any clear moment where you decide it consciously. This is how inflation hides in plain sight. You are not seeing your money disappear. You are seeing your standard of living slowly change. And because the change is gradual, it does not trigger urgency. You do not feel like you need to act immediately. You just adapt. Maybe you eat out less. Maybe you choose cheaper options. Maybe you delay certain purchases. And all of those adjustments feel reasonable. But what is actually happening is something much deeper. You are maintaining your lifestyle by giving up more than you realize. You are paying more for the same things, but it does not feel like a loss. Because you are not comparing clearly. You are only reacting to what is in front of you. And this is where the real problem begins. Your income does not always increase at the same pace. For many people, salary grows slowly, if it grows at all. But prices move constantly. So even if you feel like your financial situation is stable, it might not actually be. You could be working just as hard, earning a little more, but still falling behind. And the reason it feels confusing is because nothing dramatic has happened. There is no single moment where you lose a large amount of money. It is just small changes repeated over time. And that is what makes inflation so difficult to notice, because it does not take from you in a way that feels obvious. It takes from you in a way that feels normal. You do not see your bank account suddenly drop. You just realize that what you have buys less than it used to. And by the time you fully notice it, the change has already happened. This is why most people do not think about inflation until much later, because there is no clear signal telling you something is wrong. There is only a quiet shift that becomes your new reality. And once that reality settles in, it becomes very easy to underestimate what is actually happening. You are not just dealing with higher prices. You are slowly losing purchasing power every single month. And the most dangerous part is that it feels completely normal while it is happening. Now here is where things become more serious, because this is the part most people never fully understand. Inflation is not just about prices going up. It is about your money slowly losing value over time. If your money is sitting still, it is actually moving backwards. You might look at your savings and feel safe. The number in your account has not changed, or maybe it has even increased slightly. But what that money can actually buy is decreasing every single year. And that difference is what most people fail to see. Because we tend to think in numbers, not in purchasing power. You see the same amount and assume nothing has changed. But in reality, the value behind that number is shrinking. This becomes even more important when you think about saving. Most people believe saving money is always a good thing. And it is, but only if that money keeps its value. If your savings are not growing at least as fast as inflation, you are losing ground. It does not feel like a loss, but it is. You are slowly becoming able to afford less with the same amount of money. Over time, this creates a hidden pressure on your lifestyle. You might not notice it immediately, but you start adjusting your behavior. You delay purchases, you downgrade choices, you cut back in small ways. And all of those changes feel normal because they happen gradually. But if you zoom out and look at the bigger picture, the difference becomes clear. What you could afford a few years ago is not the same as what you can afford today. And that gap continues to grow over time. Now think about your income. For many people, income increases slowly, if it increases at all. But inflation does not wait. It continues moving, regardless of your situation. So even if you get a raise, it might only cover part of the increase in costs, which means your real financial position has not improved as much as you think. You might feel like you are moving forward, but in reality, you could be standing still, or even falling behind. This is what makes inflation so dangerous. It creates the illusion of stability. Your life looks the same, your income looks slightly better, your bank account looks stable, but underneath, your purchasing power is decreasing. And the longer this continues, the bigger the impact becomes. 5 years, 10 years, the difference can be significant. Not because of one big event, but because of small changes repeated consistently. This is also where opportunity cost comes into play. When your money is not growing, it is not just losing value. It is missing the chance to grow in a way that could offset inflation. Every year you leave money sitting without purpose is a year of lost potential, and those lost years add up in ways that are hard to recover later. This leads to a realization that most people only understand much later. Doing nothing with your money is not neutral. It is a decision with a cost. A cost that is not obvious day to day, but becomes very real over time. You are not just saving money, you are deciding whether that money will keep its value or slowly lose it. And if you are not actively protecting it, inflation will continue doing its job, quietly, consistently, and without asking for your attention. Which is why so many people feel like they are working harder but not getting ahead, because the system they are in is slowly pulling them backward while they are trying to move forward. Now here is where things start to shift, because once you understand what is happening, you can start responding differently. The goal is not to fight inflation directly, because that is something you cannot control. The goal is to stop letting it quietly work against you without doing anything about it. The first shift is understanding that cash is not always safe. It feels safe because it does not go up and down like investments, but in reality, it is slowly losing value if it is not growing. So instead of thinking about safety only in terms of stability, you start thinking about it in terms of purchasing power. The second step is making your money do something instead of just sitting there. This does not mean taking extreme risks or making complicated decisions. It means starting to think about growth, even if it is small at the beginning, because small growth over time is what helps offset the effect of inflation. The third step is consistency. You do not need to invest large amounts all at once to make a difference. What matters is building a habit of putting money to work regularly, because consistency allows your money to grow steadily over time, and that steady growth is what protects you in the long run. The fourth step is balancing growth and access. You still need some money available for emergencies and daily use, but not all of your money needs to stay in one place doing nothing. Separating your money into different purposes gives you both flexibility and protection. The fifth step is increasing your income over time, because while controlling spending is important, it has limits. There is only so much you can cut, but there is more room to grow what you earn. And when your income grows faster than inflation, you start to move ahead again. The sixth step is being intentional with your lifestyle. Not cutting everything, but choosing where your money actually adds value. Because when you spend with awareness, you reduce the pressure created by rising costs. You stop reacting to prices and start deciding what is worth paying for. And that shift makes a big difference over time. I remember noticing this more clearly when I looked back at how much things used to cost. Not in a dramatic way, just small comparisons here and there. And it was surprising how much had changed without me paying attention. Nothing felt shocking in the moment, but looking back, the difference was obvious. And that was the moment it became clear. It was not about one big mistake. It was about not paying attention to something that was happening slowly. And once you see that, it is hard to ignore, because you realize that doing nothing is also a choice that comes with a cost over time. So if this made you think differently about how your money is changing, I would be curious what you have noticed in your own life. And if you think someone else might not be paying attention to this yet, send this to them. Sometimes all it takes is noticing the pattern to start doing something about it. And if you want more simple ways to understand money without overcomplicating it, follow along. Because once you see what is happening in the background, you start making decisions differently in the foreground.